Uh-huh.
Hey everybody, it's the interview queen Alicia Atout here, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to my interview with Chris from Third Eye Blind. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Well, it's a super exciting time right now because the band is very, very close to the release of your brand new record, Our Band Apart. So are there ever any nerves still releasing music, or at this point is it just sheer excitement?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I don't think we get nervous about releasing new music really because we spend enough time working on it, and we kind of feel we like fall in love with our new baby, our new release. So it'd be like saying like, are you nervous that your kid is, people are gonna think your kid's lame or something like that.
Right.
So I don't think we feel nervous. It's definitely massive excitement before we put something out, because the thing is that it all gets finished quite a bit before it gets released, as I'm sure you know. So we have to kind of just sit on it, and especially with this album, we initially, like, there was this whole thing called, we were going to record it under a different name, and we still have this kind of inkling behind it, but it was like we were going to make this larger band called Threb, and it was going to be we were going to release the album under the name Threb. Anyway, it didn't happen because eventually we realized it was a silly idea. But at the time when we were doing it, we were like, okay, let's just be on total lockdown. So there was like one social media post, and it was by me, and it was in March. Like at the beginning of March, when we went into the studio. I made it look like a Edward Shaw piece of work, and I made it so it looked almost nobody got it, but there were some people going, "Is that like Edward Shaw?" But it just said Los Angeles recording begins, like the kind of cold beer, beautiful women, cold beer, beautiful women. I think that piece, because that piece was in this house that we were working in, and so I took inspiration from that and I made my own, and I put it up. So we had a bunch of people going like, oh my god, the recording, but other than that, it was just complete social media blackout. So, and that was like maybe 3 weeks pre-production, like just rehearsals together with acoustic guitars. It was very low key, like band practice, like Tuesday night band practice, with your mates. And then we were in the studio for, I think, 4, maybe 5 weeks. So there was just this like total like that. And then as soon as we finished the recording part of the album, and it went into like kind of post-production kind of area with Colin and Stephen, then I started editing the documentary. And same thing, I was like putting the documentary together, and going back and forth with Stephen with all the ideas, and we'd get together and watch a bit of it, and then we'd be like, yeah, let's do this. And but still, it was like we couldn't tell anybody, so it's only been a couple of weeks that we were able to just go like, so not nervous, no, just fucking like well excited to share it.
Yeah. Was there a reason you all really wanted to keep this on the down low? Was it just to kind of have that huge surprise for fans, as it has been a minute since we've heard some new music from you all?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. Screamer came out in 2019, did it? Or was it, yeah, 2019.
That sounds
2020
right.
2020 was the last year. It's I have a complete mental block about that. Anytime somebody says like, oh, when was the last time you were in, I go to Japan a lot. When was the last time you were in Tokyo? I'm like, oh yeah, I was there like 4 months ago. I'm like, no, you weren't, mate. You were there like a year and 4 months ago. So there's that year that just disappears anytime I think of what we're doing. Yeah, no, we didn't do like a social media blackout because of I wish we had the discipline to do that, but we don't. Like usually when we get into the studio, we're all fucking on our Instagram stories going, oh, look at the drum kit, and all of that. So I would love it if we had that discipline, but we don't. The whole point was that we were trying to create this like alter ego and then put the record out before anybody realized it was us. But it became like a silly thing. Like initially we were going to have like a more people in. So we'd make this band called Threb, and then we'd record all these songs, and there'd be additional guitar players and additional vocalists and, that kind of thing. And we did that on one track called Funeral Singers, where we got in Jeff from Smashing Pumpkins is a mate of ours. He came in to play guitar on it with us. And Curtis Peoples came in on it. Cassidy Pope is on it. And we got Beth from Best Coast. I hope I'm saying that right.
You
She came
are.
in to do vocals on that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So for a song that just came out, actually,
Yeah, that
again.
single's beautiful. I love the voices together on that one. It's just that's a
Oh
really
yeah.
a
No, it's cool that you
lovely
said that.
track.
There's a bit in the documentary where Beth is talking, and she says that exactly. She's like, "I love the way our voices blend together." So,
Perfect.
yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's been shared before how this album doesn't sound like previous records from the band. And it's because this one was written in a lockdown and that mindset kind of inspired it. So I'd love to know how that scenario kind of worked its way onto the songs and even onto the writing a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think Stephen was just we're all in isolation in our own little bubbles and everything, you know. Stephen and I did some stuff together acoustically and some podcasts and stuff like that. And there was because we were both living in San Francisco, and after the last podcast we did in San Francisco, that is, we were just sat there in his little kind of writing room, and he just took out an acoustic and he said, "I've got all these tunes, you know," and he just started playing them, and they were like the beginnings of the new album, you know, but it was all very acoustic focused and very kind of broken down and like what we call campfire versions of the songs. So the idea there was that when we got into rehearsal, we'd just all sit together instead of like having, you know, all the moving parts of like our production, you know, like if we're going on tour, like when you've got like fucking tons of stuff, you know, and we're all trying to talk about like, well, we should play an A minor there, don't you think, like that? And the drummer's fucking hitting the drums, and we're all going, what? You know? So instead of doing it like that, we just did it in like a house in West Hollywood here, and we just all sat around and just played acoustic guitars.
That's lovely.
So yeah, so the inception, the way the songs came out like that was just different to the way we've normally done it. And then Stephen got together with Colin, and Colin straight away was like, whoa, you got all these songs. Usually Stephen comes in with like, I've got this idea. I've got this chord that I worked out how to play, you know? And it's like this, the very basic bones. But this time he came in with like, I've got this song and this, you know?
Clear.
So it was different like that. And then the whole idea in the studio was to go in and just get in the room, all of us together, and just fucking do it, like press record and play it. And so that's what we did. That's what the documentary shows. It's just us in the room, you know, 5 musicians playing at the same time, which sounds normal, but there's a lot of tricks that go on behind making records these days. And we stayed away from all of that on this one.
Yes, there are a lot of different factors. And sometimes when you can really just strip all of those away, just have the members in a room, especially after being away for so long because of the pandemic, because you guys hadn't been in the same room for quite some time since then. So I can imagine it was nice being able to just simply focus on one another and the music at the same time. So I think it obviously worked because the tracks we've heard so far, the songs really do shine through. So.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Of course. And when it comes to this band, whenever I think of the songs, there are so many amazing tracks that come to mind from over the years, everything from Jumper to Everything is Easy, Graduate. There are just so many relatable lyrics from over the years. And it's amazing to see how these releases have helped people, including me. So I'd love to know who are some of those bands for you, the ones you've listened to when you either felt down or angry, you just kind of needed like a little escape and you're like, this is my band.
Right. Yeah. God, that's a good question because we kind of walk that line, you know, because
very
we're
much
those
so.
band. Yeah, but we're all massive music fans. So, gosh, I mean, fucking, how long have you got? I'll give you the fucking dictionary.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I'll just speak about for me personally. When I was a kid, when I was like 8 years old, Purple Rain came out, and just, you know, it was just this thing. Before that, it was just Lego. I was just playing with Lego all the time, and then Purple Rain came out, and I was like, the fuck, you know. And it was this enigmatic man, and I was just in 100%. So I became like utterly, like fanatically obsessed with Prince from the age of, I think it was 15 before I bought another record. I was 15 years old, so I was just listening to Prince. I would save up my pocket money and buy like the previous Prince record, because you couldn't even buy those in Ireland at that time because
oh wow,
they were like, you know, hard, you know, all his earlier stuff and all the rest of it. You couldn't just go into a record shop and got it. Like for Christmas, my parents got me the Purple Rain cassette. You know,
that's amazing. You must have been absolutely thrilled, especially if it's like a rare little diamond.
Yeah, I wore that thing out, man. But so so it was just, for me, it was just Prince. And then, and I used to just dress up like Prince and prance around with like a broomstick and stuff like that, I didn't think that you could buy an electric guitar. I thought like to be able to buy an electric guitar, you would need to be as rich as somebody like Prince to be able to afford an electric guitar. And I went over to my mate Ian's house, and after Christmas, and he had gotten an electric guitar and an amplifier. And I was like, the fuck?
Open the floodgates.
I was like, you can just go buy those, And my parents weren't as well off, so, but I went back home and I was like, fucking Ian's got one, So my parents were like, well, look, if you learn to play this acoustic piece of crap that's in the attic with 2 strings on it, if you learn how to play that, then we'll get you an electric guitar for Christmas. And so just to go back to your question, Prince was like I was in and involved in trying to be like Prince before I even had a guitar. Like I was like, that's what I'm going to do,
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, so lyrically there's like tons in him that just helped me through all of that, because like I went through all the Prince with like, there's a line in the book High Fidelity by Nick Hornby where he says he's talking about girls, and he's talking about that summer where you're with your mates and school ends, and then it's like summer holidays and you're all having a laugh and everything like that, and then suddenly it's like there's girls and you're like, wait, what's and Nick Hornby put it beautifully. He said it's not like they were never there, but suddenly they were everywhere, and it was just like this, it's like the awakening of young men, and so so Prince was like by my side for all of that formative stuff,
That's incredible.
So yeah, and just hugely inspirational to just be like, when you're having a tough day at school, or you're like, I was like a scrawny kid, if you're like getting pushed around or whatever like that, and you'd be like, fuck you, and then you go home and seek solace in your electric guitar and listen to Prince and try to so I could credit him as like the guy who made me rehearse for like 3-4 hours every day and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So
I absolutely love hearing just the makings of what really got you into actually picking up that instrument, because growing up for me too, I was bullied all of the time, especially for the music that I liked. So it almost was more of a keepsake for me to go back to it thinking, you know what, screw it. And Prince was one of those bands that my parents put me onto, and I've just been obsessed since I was 3 listening to him. So yeah, it's incredible to see how many. Oh yeah, I was listening to that stuff when I was being bathed at probably like the age of 2. So but it just goes way back. So hearing your connection with such an important artist, it's really amazing, definitely.
Yeah, it was a bit later for me, but I was still too young when I got it, like Purple Rain, when that came out, like I was still really young, and I got the Let's Go Crazy 12-inch remix, right? Back in the day, they used to have these 12-inch remixes, okay? And it was like it's the single, but there'd be more stuff on it. And on the flip side of it was a song called Erotic City. And I remember I was listening to it, and the lyrics are filthy,
I had no idea what I was singing. No idea when I was little.
I was like 9 or 10 years old, and my dad is a big, massive music fan. So he had like the turntable and the whole hi-fi system and all that, thousands of records. And so I was there with the headphones on, and I'm like looking at the cover, and I'm all into it, And my dad comes over and he wants to support, oh, his little boy is into music. That's so great. And he comes over and he's like, oh, what do you listen to? And I was like, oh, it's Let's Go Crazy. And the B-side is called Erotic City, And I could see my dad going, like Erotic City. He's like, you're 10 years old, And I remember going, and my dad walked away, and I remember going, oh, this is bad. This is a bad thing here. And I looked up the word erotic in the encyclopedia, and it said, in the dictionary, I should say, and it said of sexual pleasure. And I remember going, and I didn't even know what that meant, but I remember going, that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm too young. I'm not supposed to know that or something.
And then you were hooked. The rest is history.
I was like, I'm all grown up now. Yeah.
Well, the last thing I wanted to ask you about, of course, earlier you had mentioned the documentary and how much of a hand you had in that. And you are a self-coined video nerd. So other than the editing aspect, are we kind of talking video games as well, music videos, creating short films? What kind of had you obsessed with videos and editing in general?
Oh, again, my dad is a photographer, so
okay.
I think I got that bug pretty young. So I was always the kid with the camera. I always carried a camera everywhere with me. And just very quickly, I actually went to a Prince, Prince played in Ireland many, many years ago. And I went to see him. He played 2 nights in this place in Dublin. And I was older at this stage. I was living in my own apartment in Dublin, and I cycled to the Prince gig. Saw the gig, fucking amazing. And then there was a rumor after the gig he was going to do one of his famous after shows. And so I cycled up to the after show, and it was the second night of the two gigs, and I cycled up, and there was a queue of people, and they took your £20 and said, all right, go on. And we went in, and Prince was playing. It was like this small little venue, and Prince was playing with his whole band and Bono. And he was,
oh, wow.
He was doing The Cross, a song off the Sign of the Times album. And Sinead O'Connor was there. Anyway, I was always the guy with the camera. I was there by myself, the loner that I am. And I took out my camera, my dad's camera. It was like a big fucking SLR, you know what I mean? Back in the day. And I fucking hit the button, and the flash went off, And I was like, oh, I forgot to kill the flash. So that lit up the room. And next minute, this like, big tall like black dude comes over with like a thingy in his ear, and he goes, come on. And I was like, oh fuck. And there's only like 9 black people in Ireland, and I know them all. So I was like, this is one of Prince's guys, So he took us to the front, up to the side of the stage, and I'm like stood there like that, and Prince is right there playing, and I was going, fucking hell. So the guy was like trying to open the camera, and I was like, oh, here, and I opened it for him, and he took out the film and exposed the film, and then he just put that in his pocket, and he closed the camera and handed it back to me. And I thought like that was the loading dock, that's where it was, and I thought he was just gonna go and get the fuck out, And instead he goes like this, kind of like with his hand, he just gestures to the front row, and everybody sees the dude, tall dude with the thing. They all step back as if I'm a celebrity, and I walked into the front row. So I was like, now I was
wow.
like less than a meter from Prince. So I got to see the whole gig like right there like that. So that was just insane. He played for hours, and I was able to look at his pedal board, and I could see him sweating. He was so close, At the end of the gig, he jumped into the audience right in front of me, and I like, the whole audience shoved like this, and I just kind of grabbed his hand to shake his hand like that. And he had his guitar pick in his hand, and I was like, oh, I got my little Prince guitar pick from Prince.
You must be so happy that you forgot to turn that flash off.
And like where I lived at the time was only like maybe a 10-minute cycle from that venue, and I remember walking my bike home, just in this like.
It was a dream.
Yeah, I was going every once in a while. I was like, maybe there is a God, because if there was anybody in that room that deserved to have that happen to them, it was me. So I was really, really amazed that happened. But anyway, that's the camera thing. So I was always the camera nerd, and at the time, I remember my mates, and I said this to the guys in the band recently. I remember back in the day when I was playing in bands in Dublin, my mates were like, I'd take out the video camera, like a little camcorder, and I'd take it out and be filming stuff. And they'd be going, what are you doing? Like, we're just talking, we're hanging out, we're not doing anything. And I was just like, yeah, I know, this is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And then, we'd go to gigs, and I'd film bits of the gigs and all the rest of it. And maybe a couple of years ago, I put some of it together and sent it over to a few of the lads. And they were like, God, at the time we always thought it was kind of annoying, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you were the guy who brought the camera around, because these memories now, they're precious, So yeah, that's the whole camera and video and all of that. That's the whole bug right there. I'm just getting a low powered thing on there we go. So I've just kept that up, and as I've gotten older, I've gotten better gear, and so like anytime we go anywhere or do anything, I put kind of like fly on the wall cameras around the place and just kind of capture anything, stuff like that. So when we were doing this record, Stephen was like, you should just make a documentary about this. Yeah. And I was like, okay, can do. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fucking work, but there's a lot of fun. It's finished now. I just saw the latest edit last night, so very chuffed. Nice.
Definitely looking forward to listening to the entire record along with watching that documentary. And Chris, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here, for sharing your stories, talking about the forthcoming record. It's been awesome. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
of course. Cheers. To everyone watching, this has been Chris from Third Eye Blind. Be sure to check out their forthcoming record and visit aliciatout.com for more exclusive interviews and features. We'll see you all next time, everyone. Bye.
Awesome. Bye-bye.